Hey, long time no see. So I filmed an intro, but I didn't like it because I don't know how to act in front of a camera. So we're just gonna jump straight into it. Okay, Beach, so you start out with soap, you can wet it with whatever you want, you could spit on that shit if you wanted to. And then you start to brush up through your brows like so. You wanna kinda do it relatively hard because you want the hairs to kind of like stick to your like skin. And then you start to press it down with whatever. You can use your finger or like the end of your brush, whatever. Then I use the edge of my spoolie over the top of my brow to give that little bit some shape. The soap doesn't dry immediately, so you can kind of play with the shape for a little bit. The technique that I wanted to show you guys today was this one that I picked up from celebrity makeup artist Scott Barnes and Harush. It focuses on the contours and there's not that much product on the skin. I like to lift my eye, and the way that I do that is I place the product initially on the outer edge of my eye, then I work it towards my brow bone, and then forwards towards my nose where it'll connect with my nose contour. So I'm sure you already noticed, but instead of using eyeshadow primer to prime my eye, I just started using a brown concealer shade from Makeup Revolution. This is the shade C14.5. I find that creams are easier to work with, personally, and that they're easier to blend. By this point, I had already moisturized and primed using the Poreless Putty Primer by e.l.f., so don't worry girl, I believe in primer. The contour that I'm applying is the same shade of concealer by Makeup Revolution that I used for my eyes. God bless. Okay, so I caught up with what you're seeing visually, so here I'm just applying color corrector by LA Girl over my discoloration or whatever. I thought that I didn't need any, but upon closer inspection I was like, ooh girl. Then using the e.l.f. hydrating concealer, I go over the color corrector to even out my skin tone. Then after this, I start to construct my schnoz. I like to go in straight up with contour, no foundation. This process goes in like 3 different steps, as you'll see. This is the part where like, okay, sure, like you can't get it done all at once. Sure, it might be a hassle or whatever, but I find that it helps with the overall look of the contoured nose because I used to have experiences where I would contour my nose after foundation with like powder and then it would just remove my foundation underneath, and so this helps to kind of make sure that the contour is always there. Everybody's nose is different and everyone has a different preference for contouring their nose if they choose to do so. So I'm not saying to follow this tutorial in regards to the way that I shape my nose, just as far as adding this aspect of the technique into your nose contouring routine. I personally prefer like a really snatched nose, but I also really like a natural finish, so that's why I like to build my nose contour and don't like to start off too dark too fast. And I just briefly overlined my lips with contour. Now I'm applying the e.l.f. concealer in the typical areas where you do my under eyes, forehead, and the bridge of my nose and tip. If you have drier skin or you prefer a more luminous finish that's kind of more natural, then I would definitely recommend this concealer. Deadass, this concealer is only $4.99, and on top of that, I feel like Crusty Dusty Matte is making its way out this year. We're staying hydrated, bitch. The only thing that I would recommend with using this concealer is that you wait a little bit after you apply it to blend it out, because as it oxidizes, it builds coverage. When I shot this, I didn't wait as long as I should have, and so later on you'll see me apply a little bit more concealer in the areas where I felt it needed it. And just as a general rule of thumb in makeup, it's always better to apply product little by little as opposed to going in with copious amounts of product and then having to remove that product. Here I go in and blend the highlights, and then I go back in and strengthen the shadows with the contour. And then I added concealer where I felt I needed it and placed some product around my piercing. I've gotten a few questions regarding the way that I work around my piercing, and it's relatively simple. I pretty much just place the concealer around it and then I blend it out where I need it with the brush. Now here's the part where I start adding foundation, and instead of adding it all over my face like I typically would, I only add it in the areas where product is missing and in between the highlights and the contours. I like to apply my foundation in sections as opposed to applying it all over my face and then blending it out, because it helps me gauge how much coverage I want. And the foundation that I'm using here is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer in the shade 15W. I become a super dewy hoe throughout the years. I started out using mostly matte foundations, and that was fine or whatever, but as soon as I started using more luminous foundations like this one and the LA Girl foundation, I just started popping off, girl. My skin be looking good. This is the type of skin that'll raise your credit score, get you new job opportunities, and get your kid into college. So don't do this for me, do this for them. When I add foundation to the sides of my nose, I use it to kind of help sculpt my nose, and then I blend it out with the sponge. And right before I go in and set anything with powder, I go back through and make sure that I don't have any creases on my face, so I don't look like a wrinkly shirt. As far as baking goes, I don't really like to add too much powder or leave it there for too long because a bitch will be looking crusty. So when I pick up powder, I make sure to tap off my beauty blender and get any excess powder off, and just add any powder little by little as I need it. The powder that I'm using here is the Maybelline Fit Me powder in the shade 20, and I really like it because it doesn't leave the skin looking super dry, and it doesn't have any flashback. I like to set the base of my contours with a more cool tone shade, and the one that I'm using is from a BH Cosmetics contour palette. And for me, I like to bring the product a little bit further into my face so that it kind of like hugs my cheeks. And for the bronzer, I'm just using the top two shades from the contour palette, and honestly, a bitch be going crazy with contour sometimes. Like, I want to be brown so bad, but a bitch don't go outside, so sometimes I over bronze and I look at my body and I'm like, oh wow, I fucked up. Using one of the shades that I bronzed with and a little bit of a deeper brown shade in the palette, I'm going in and I'm setting the concealer on my eyes. And again, I'd like to start by placing the product at the edge of my eye, work it forwards towards where it's going to connect with my nose contour, and then extend it at the edges towards my temples. But for real, if you guys try this technique, let a bitch know, because I am falling into a habit of just doing soft glam because of this technique. Just because it's so easy and it feels like shit just like falls into place and it just like looks good. And what I really like about this look is that because we're using all of the same shades all over the face, it really ties the whole face together. And girl, don't even get me started about winging out your eyeshadow, girl, because you don't have to do winged eyeliner if you don't want to. I still do because I'm an addict, I'm a fiend, but you don't have to. Now, if y'all are into soft glam, y'all already know the fucking vibes. This fucking brown smoky liner is essential. To do the liner, I like to start placing the eyeshadow on my lash line first because it helps me determine the size and thickness of it, and then once I have that, I start to flick the product out little by little to create the shape of the wing. If you guys like the look of liner, but liquid eyeliner be stressing you the fuck out, then I would definitely recommend trying it this way because the powder's a lot more forgiving. It takes a little longer to do because you do have to build up the product, but girl, you'll be looking cute. Just keep in mind as you work your way toward the end of the wing that you use less and less product. You can set your lid with a matte shadow if you want, but a bitch loves glitter, so I'm using a mousse shade by JCat Cosmetics in the shade Chrome Galaxy. Girl, I'm a broke bitch, and these shadows are the same price as an iced coffee, so let me put you on real fast. The thing about this shadow formula is that it's best applied with your fingers, so if you have nails, girl, you better ask for some help. Then I just tightline my eyes with a black liner and prep my eyes with mascara for falsies. I don't really care too much about mascara, I just want it to be black and to make my bottom lashes look good. What I do give a shit about though is my lashes, and the ones that I'm using here are the Batty Bee lashes in the style Extra. And not even gonna front, if it wasn't for lashes, I probably wouldn't be doing makeup because lashes make the humble leave my body. I used to apply black in my waterline, but that shit just made my eyes like non-existent, so now I apply white. It makes me feel like the big titty anime girl I always wanted to be. I like to think about spiders when I do my bottom lashes. If you know me in person, you know that I'm a slut for orange blush, but I was using my orange blush to see what the fuck I was doing, so I'm just using Rose de Oro by Milani. To finish up my nose contour, I like to go back in and redefine everything with a more cool tone shade. Now, if you're gonna do this, proceed with caution, otherwise it might look like Ash Wednesday was hosted on your nose. The Lord may or may not have died for this nose contour. Now, some of you might be sitting at home thinking, is this bitch really gonna overline their lips? Yes. Yes, I am. Don't come for me, I just like to look like a Bratz doll. I like to serve trompa. I don't really do too much to my bottom lip in terms of overlining, but I do like to overline by my cupid's bow on my top lip, and I like to shorten the edges of my mouth so that it gives my lip height. Throughout the process, I'll use my finger to blend out the lip liner. You can also use concealer to clean up the sides if you fucked up like I did. And to finish it off, I just put a nude shade in the center of my lips. Then you just set that shit and you're ready to go out and sit in the sala. I might not be able to do a proper outro, but at least a bitch is cute.